Among the leaks using their favorite place at which or to which to leak, the Washington Post, was this letter that supposedly was sent to Prime Minister Netanyahu that if he doesn't allow humanitarian aid into Gaza in 30 days, I don't know why 30 days, but 30 days, the United States will consider halting military supplies. 30 days and consider. It doesn't seem a very precise or threatening threat to me, but do you think it's realistic? Would the Biden administration ever say no to Netanyahu? Would they say, let food, water, medicine, and fuel in, or we'll stop sending you bullets, weapons, ammo, and spare parts?
The short answer is no. In fact, a good friend with a lot of years of experience inside the intelligence community said it very well to me. He said, when the time comes and Mr. Netanyahu wants something from the United States in the event of the next attack with Iran, he's not going to ask for anything. He will simply make demands, and we will meet those demands. I think we have to understand that this is very much a case of the tail wagging the dog. Here you have a nation of, at least when this began, of a little over 7 million Jewish Israelis, plus another million Arabs that are living inside Israel's borders. I mean, the current borders, not including Gaza and the West Bank.
Right.
And we are a nation of what? 330, 340 million. And we are now hostage to whatever Mr. Netanyahu decides to do. Those are the facts. He's in control. He's been in control from the very beginning. And while he has control, I think he's going to use it, because there is no guarantee after the November election that he'll be able to do then what he's doing now. I know that a lot of people are saying, well, you know, President Trump will give him whatever he wants. But if I were Mr. Netanyahu, I'm not sure that I would buy that argument. I think I would probably act now. And that's his best bet of dragging us into something. And again, if you look at this terminal high altitude air defense system and its radar, the roughly 100 American soldiers that are part of this, a lot of people are treating this as some sort of tripwire. Well, the truth is we've already got tripwires. We have those things in Iraq and Syria. And when President Trump was in office, he wanted to get our soldiers out of those places precisely because we could not defend them in the event of a high-end conventional conflict, which is what we're looking at with Iran and Israel. The terminal high-altitude air defense is not necessarily a tripwire, but it does signal that we will probably lose soldiers on the ground in Israel, on Israeli soil, if this fight continues. His hope that will be enough to trigger all-out war between the United States and Iran. But I'm not sure that would necessarily happen.
You told us a few minutes ago.
We should talk about that.
Well, you told us a few minutes ago about the deaths of American soldiers in Ukraine. It's not in the news anywhere. Their deaths have been totally hidden or covered up by the government. I would imagine the same thing would happen, even though if they died in Israel, even though the administration ostentatiously said, we have 100 on the ground now with the THAAD already in Israel. We announced it after it happened.
We have fought for almost 30 years now very weak, incapable opponents. Those days are over. We now face not only Iran, but potentially Russia. There are thousands of Russian technical military personnel inside Iran. There are Russian pilots capable of flying aircraft in defense of Iran. People may have forgotten, but back during the Vietnam War and certainly during the Korean War, there were Russian pilots, in those days Soviet pilots, that flew aircraft, particularly in Korea, and were very effective. What I'm trying to say is that people in Washington, particularly in the administration and the White House, are afraid of being dragged into an all-out war. They don't want that. The problem is that right now they're hostage to Netanyahu.